Okay, this is awkward. Hi, everybody. It's Seth. Welcome to the Debrief Podcast. Little note here before we begin. The slogan of this podcast is Detroit's moving. Keep up. Unfortunately, as you've probably noticed at the moment, Detroit is very much not moving. But at the time that we recorded these episodes, it was moving. We recorded these conversations with Ping Ho, the owner of The Royce and Marrow, and the partner in Mink, before the coronavirus pandemic basically shut everything down. And we debated whether or not we should publish these episodes or whether we should edit them. And ultimately, we decided that we talk about so many things that are happening in Detroit that there was no way to edit them. So we figured we would just publish them as is, with this little note at the beginning that really none of the events that we talk about now in this episode are going on, and you need to stay home and stay safe and please flatten the curve. But at least for the next 20 minutes or so, you can pretend that life is back to normal and enjoy this conversation with Ping Ho.
Check, 1, 2, 3.
The
Brief.
This is the Debrief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the podcast for and about Detroit artists and entertainers. I'm Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And on today's show, we are talking to the woman who is behind some of the best places to eat in all of Metro Detroit. Ping Ho is joining us. She is the owner of The Royce and Marrow. She's also a partner in Mink. Ping, happy St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How's that for a big mashup of things?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, and let's throw one other thing in there. We were actually classmates. We didn't know this, but you and I were both at Brown University at the same time.
Indeed.
So I graduated around 99, and you were there, but we didn't know each other then.
No, unfortunately.
You weren't working at the radio station.
No, I was not.
Were you running restaurants? What were you doing? Were you working at the what is it, the Carberry? Is that what they called that? You remember the little restaurant? I don't know what it's called.
I was actually not involved with
food at all.
Food at all, yeah. I was theory head. I was studying semiotics. It was all about, cultural studies, philosophy, postmodernism.
You were an MCM major, modern culture and media.
Modern culture media.
Yes.
I like the sound of that.
And I'm going to be honest, we made fun of the MCM majors.
Black turtlenecks.
Yep, back in the day.
Oh, very mod.
Right.
Theory heads, yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
and now look at her.
I mean, I think who's winning now?
And what does my degree in philosophy get me? Nothing.
And they were probably making fun of you too over in the
were.
radio station. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here. On today's episode, we're going to talk all about your story because your story is fascinating.
Yeah.
You don't have the normal story of a restaurateur. You've taken quite an interesting path. We're going to find all about it. So thanks for joining us. All right, Becky, before we get to all that, let's start with a little bit of trivia.
Okay, so this week I chose as my trivia topic the Nain Rouge. So Nain Rouge means red dwarf in French, and it's, of course, this little legendary creature of our fine city of Detroit whose appearance is said to foretell misfortune. Every spring, we have a festival and a costume parade called the Marche de Nain Rouge that is taking place to kind of make sure he doesn't come back and bring bad things. So it's meant to banish him from the city for yet another year. So that takes place this coming Sunday, March 22nd in Midtown. Starts at Canfield and 2nd, marches to Masonic Temple. It's always a good, interesting, fun time. So I wanted to ask you guys, first of all, which famous Detroiter was cursed by the Nain Rouge? Got some choices.
So I'm not from here. You're not from here either.
No, yeah.
I do know about the Marche de Nain Rouge because we're actually building out our studio as we speak so that we can start doing video. And we've got posters from all different organizations and events all around town. And that big red one right there is the Marche de Nain Rouge.
Yeah, and you can see the kind of the scary face, a little bit of a devilish figure. He's often depicted.
All right, so
like
the question is, who did he
initially curse in the city? I'll give you some choices.
Oh, yeah, okay, good.
Yeah. You don't have to just come up with that. So A, Henry Ford. B, Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac. C, Barry Gordy. Or D, Augustus Woodward. So all famous Detroiters for one reason or another. Who did the Nain Rouge curse?
Well, this happened at the beginning of the city. right? So it couldn't have been Henry Ford. This would have predated Henry Ford. It would have way predated Berry Gordy. So Cadillac or
Augustus Woodward.
Woodward.
you think it's Woodward? I think it's Cadillac.
You're right, Seth.
It's Cadillac. Because he's the guy who founded the city,
founder
right?
of the city in the early 1700s.
Why didn't
So
they
this
name the
goes
city
way back.
Cadillac?
Well, I'll tell you that actually in a later trivia question.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right,
I didn't want to give it
stick
away.
around. Come back later this week.
So Ping, Seth alluded to it earlier. You have a really fascinating story. So I want to just jump into your journey that led you to Detroit. You know, how you got here. You were working in finance, you were working in music, and now you're in restaurants. How did that all happen?
Well, call it maybe a midlife crisis or early midlife crisis. Well, I really didn't want to age into the music business. So I was working in New York, 10 years at really good job, right? Warner Music, doing corporate business development, negotiating deals for Warner Music. But just looking into the future and thinking, I'm going to be in my 40s. Do I really want to spend it doing the same job, albeit a really good job, working with the smartest people? And the answer was no.
Sure.
And so I've always had a passion for food and wine, but never been in the business, never even been a server anywhere. With other, personal issues coming together, there was an opportunity to think big and to actually visit Detroit a number of times and started noticing that there were interesting things happening in the city.
Yeah, very cool. So you thought this was the place to be to start a new venture that could be successful.
So back then it was 2014, 2015, and it was, downtown was still not as developed as it is today.
Of course, yeah.
Really seeing that there wasn't even a very robust food and wine scene, much less any kind of a wine bar and shop that I was used to enjoying in New York. Coming from New York, living in Brooklyn.
Had everything. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of started the idea and took a big chance, sold everything in New York and invested in Detroit. And this was the end of 2015.
And so you started with the Royce, and tell us a little bit about that for anybody who hasn't been there, say.
So the Royce is on Grand Circus Park. It's I like to say it's right around Cliff Bells. Everyone knows Cliff Bells, right? So around the corner from Cliff Bells, it's a wine bar, wine shop hybrid. And that's very unique to Michigan. Not every state allows that. So for example, New York, you can only be a wine bar, you can only be a wine shop. So the beauty of this model is that you can both shop and you can both enjoy a glass of wine and some charcuterie at the bar and then buy some wine home, right? So the retail model also enables us to offer a corkage fee just for any bottle off the shelf. So let's say you want to try something that's off the menu, and it's a $50 retail price bottle. In a restaurant, it would be probably double at least, right?
Yeah,
the price.
$100, yeah.
So for an extra $10, you get to try that nice bottle of wine that you can share with 4 friends, right? So it makes, I think, wine a lot more accessible, and it enables us to also carry a wider selection. And all my wines are laid out by body weight at the shop. So if you go to a Royce, it looks like a library.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And, shelves are, there's one wall is all reds, one wall is all white, and is laid out by body weight. So light, medium, full. And that forces the customer to really look across countries. As opposed to wine shops that are laid out by like Australia,
regions,
US, by regions.
Yeah.
Here's by body weight, and which then encourages people to go, all right, I usually like Pinot Noirs in the lighter body category. What else? What other varietals can I try?
Nice, nice. And then moving on to Marrow, tell us a little bit about the concept there.
So like the Royce, is also a hybrid business. So Marrow is a butcher shop restaurant located in the West Village. So we are very near Indian Village. I mean, the villages are all, small, we're part of the whole neighborhood. And so you enter and exit through the butcher shop, but the primary business model is restaurants. So we're very much, a restaurant as well, but our identity is also the butcher shop. So we source locally from Michigan farms, work with local farmers, bring in meat, grass-fed beef, organic pork, and, some other poultry like chickens that we can get hold of. But essentially we do whole animal butchery So on any given day, you can go in and you might see my butchers, Nick, Chris, and their teams breaking down, half an animal, creating steaks and different cuts of meat.
Right. And then your newest restaurant, Mink. So you have a little bit different role there. Right?
So I'm a partner, co-partner, right, in Mink, which was started with my chef at Marrow, Chef Sarah Welsh. And it's a tiny 22-seat, oyster bar, raw bar, but we have other offerings as well. So some hot dishes. But it's very much like an American-inspired izakaya. So if you've been to Japan, you go to a place where it's small, the chef just serves you, you can see them preparing the food, and it's very symbiotic. What you drink and what you eat very much come together. So at Mink, we have usually more than a dozen oyster selections, east, west. So I think we really specialize in freshly sourced oysters from the different coasts. And we also have a lot of more seafood-centric dishes. So whereas Marrow's meat-centric, Mink is seafood-centric. We also do feature some Marrow meats there, like tartars. But yeah, because it's a small place, it's small. We don't have a full kitchen. The menu is, small and ever-changing.
Right.
I want to go back to something you said because it fascinates me. This idea of, because you were in the music business. And I was too. I was in the radio business. And I know the feeling that you're talking about because I absolutely remember thinking that in my mid-30s going, am I going to be 50 years old pretending like I still care about Blink-182? Like, and not for nothing, I watched guys around me who did, but I was like, I don't know that I can do that. And it's, I started a podcast about food, called Taste Truckers at the time. How did you said that you chose Detroit because there was nothing here, but I feel like that's such a strange choice. Was it specifically because the things that you were looking to do were not here and you saw that there was a hole? Is that what brought you here?
Well, there was a personal element. So my partner then grew up in Michigan. So I think that's why we would have the opportunity to fly in through Detroit, right? And noticing then, but I think what captured my imagination was also Detroit has its place in history, in the American psyche, where it really was the startup. It was the Silicon Valley of the 20th century. A lot of innovation happened here. If you look at architecture, you look at the history, Motown. There's so much history, right? From cars to automobiles to architecture to music. Right. So Detroit was leading, and then we all know what happened to it. But there's a certain energy, I think, in Detroit that drew me as well, and that continues to draw people. I have a lot of friends come to visit from New York who have never been to the Midwest, to Detroit, and they are captivated by what they feel as the energy of Detroit. And so part of it was also seeing, I could never have done what I've done in such a short period of time in New York. The truth is, right, it's expensive to start brick and mortar businesses there. You need a lot more capital. You need a lot more context, and you have to have a rock solid, execution. Fortunately here, I think I've pulled it off well, and the same things do apply, but it is at the end of the day a little less competitive than bigger cities.
When you came here, when you actually landed, the plane landed and you got off and you unpacked your bags, had you done anything in the food space at that point?
Except being a professional eater and drinker.
So what is step one when you're sitting there going, this is what I want to do?
Start a wine bar.
Yeah, where do you start?
Well, a lot of it was business planning. So I actually had got an MBA when I was in New York, got to learn how to put together spreadsheets and business planning, business plans, pro formas, all that.
Yeah, all the stuff you don't learn when you're an MCM major.
Exactly. I went from MCM to more finance.
Yes.
And so, business planning is always the first step, right? And always thinking through, all right, what's my angle? What's the product I'm offering? How can I make this succeed? And there's so many considerations. So I started definitely from number crunching and a lot of planning. And then when it came to wine, it was learning by tasting relentlessly. So I actually still keep a spreadsheet that I started when I first started in the startup of the business of the Royce. And right today, it's close to 5,000 wines that I've tasted. Yeah.
So you're still doing homework.
I still do that. And
it's good homework.
Continuous learning.
It's cataloged, right? And because I taste so much, but I cannot rely on writing it in notebooks because it's hard to search. And now I can actually search by varietal, by, body weight, when I tasted it, by distributor, by price point. So it really helps me, pick out the wines for Marrow, for the Royce, for Mink.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you're making a recommendation to somebody, where do you start? What's the first question you ask them?
What do you like to drink? Like, what do you prefer typically?
Where do you start from?
Yeah, where do you start from? What's your palate? Like, what do you like about wine?
I like spicy reds and sweet whites, and that's about all I know.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I like Shirazes and Malbecs, and I'm not a Chardonnay fan. That's about as much as I
don't
know.
like sweet whites. I like dry across the board.
You do?
So yeah, I like rosés, and I like a lot of things. Yeah.
What do you?
Oh, I like a lot of things, but I would
She pulls
say
out her binder.
Yeah.
should have brought some wine.
It
but
depends. To me, it depends on the mood I'm in, the season it
Correct.
is, what I'm eating.
What you're eating, if
Yeah.
you're just drinking it by yourself, what time of the day,
Yeah.
But these days I really gravitate more towards white wines, even when it's cold outside.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think my palate has been tasting so much wine, it gets very fatigued by heavy reds
I
and
could see that.
heavy wines, right? So I really gravitate towards, in general, even with reds, higher acid wines, lighter bodied, good structure. And so some varietals I love in the red category, like Nebbiolo, Pinot Noir, some Austrian, Germanic, varietals, Blaufränkisch.
What strikes me is that, okay, so you went into this business, you say you really didn't know anything about, but you attacked it like a student. Okay. I know what I'm doing business-wise, make this plan. But I think the reason you've been as successful as you are, because you're so passionate about it. I mean, look at you going on about the wine. I think that's the root of it, right? You really love this stuff.
Yeah, I do. And it's very gratifying to be in the business where you can actually, write off your passion, but also make some money off of your passion, right?
Heck yeah.
And
Could you help us do that with podcasting?
Yes, absolutely.
you're doing it. You guys are killing it.
All right, quick note. We've got an artist opportunity. The Detroit Jazz Festival is now accepting musicians. If you've ever, submissions. Let me just start that over. That was just terrible. Can you grab a red pen off my desk? Because clearly I'm going to need it tonight. All right, quick note. We've got an artist opportunity. The Detroit Jazz Festival is now accepting submissions. If you've ever wanted to play at the Detroit Jazz Festival, the deadline is June 1st. Head over to their website. Let's do some shout-outs. Becky.
Sure. So a local musician is going to be on a reality TV show. Ryan Neal, he's a singer, songwriter, musician, producer. He's from Dearborn Heights. He's part of the cast of ABC's brand new Bachelor spinoff. It's called Listen to Your Heart, and it's pairing music and love. So it airs for 6 episodes, and it starts April 13th.
There is no amount of money you could pay me to be on a reality show like this. Ping, would you ever do?
Never.
No, even if it were food related?
Oh, yeah. Maybe if I were a chef, but no.
There is no reality show where you can just taste wine, is there?
Oh, there should be.
There should be.
Yeah, let's make one. I don't know. Maybe if I was a lot younger, I don't think I would, though.
If I were younger and taller and thinner and
more
better
beautiful.
looking.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't think I would want the cameras in my face that much.
No.
I think, yeah. But anyways, so keep an eye out for the show. Congrats and good luck to Ryan.
Yeah. All right, Ping, you've got somebody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. So every quarter, the Royce, we support a charity. And this quarter, we are supporting the Heat and Warmth Fund, or THAW. So they are a local organization. They help families in need pay their utility bills. They also create, educational programs to help educate about, lowering bills, being more sustainable in your electricity consumption. But yeah, we just thought they're a great organization, especially in the wintertime.
Yeah,
this sounds like a good cause. If I want to support them by drinking wine, I'm in. How do I do that? Just come to the Royce and
come to the Royce. We're also so we have a little donation box over New Year's. We did a raffle and raised some money for them as well. And yeah, we're hoping before the end of the quarter that we'll do one more event. So stay
That's
tuned.
great. That's a long time running organization. They've been around a long time too, so you can feel really confident.
Yes.
They do what they say they're going to do.
All right, I want to give a shout out to a senator, local senator, Senator Erica Geiss of Taylor, who is introducing a bill that would make music and art part of the state's required curriculum.
Bravo.
It would require 90 minutes of music and 90 minutes of art instruction per week for every Michigan student, K through 5.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. I mean, look, this was something that was part of the, this was part of the curriculum when I was growing up.
Yeah,
I could take music, I could take art. It's not there anymore. Now, I know sometimes it goes astray and you wind up with modern culture and media degrees. You don't want it to go that
silly
far.
Business. Yeah, we're lucky to be in the Berkeley School District that has had a fantastic music program, and both of my sons are musicians because they had that in school. And I can't imagine them not having that. And I think it helps in every other subject too. It's just something that should be there.
All right. Well, good for her. Senator Erica Geiss of Taylor. Ping Ho, you're going to be with us all week. Thank you so much for stopping by. I know that one of the things you do over there is the monthly World of Wine. When's your next event?
So it's coming up on the 26th, and that is a Thursday. So 7 p.m., it's a ticketed event. So we usually have limited number of seats. I just released the tickets today. So look on our Facebook page for the event listing. And this month, we're going to Spain. So usually what we do is, in collaboration with sommelier, who's also a good friend of mine, Liz Martinez, who, so happens, shout out to her. She's a 2019 Food and Wine Best Somm, one of the 6 somms featured. And we're lucky to have her in Michigan. So she picks out, along with my chef, Chef Sarah Welsh, a theme. So the theme this month, is Spain. Last month, we actually went to northern Italy. Previously, went to Lebanon. So we really try to get creative.
Because all these places like Italy's closed now. I don't know if you saw the news. You were not allowed to go to Italy.
No.
So this is the best way to get over
exactly. So as opposed to getting on a plane, come see us, buy a ticket.
Get some Spanish wines this month.
So with a list of wines, Sarah then plans a menu that's inspired by the country's cuisine. And it's usually a lot of fun. You get to taste, you get to talk about the wines, and you get to see how creative Sarah can get.
Oh, perfect.
I gotta do one of those.
Hey, want to let you know the Debrief has a mobile app. You should go check it out. There are bonus interviews in there that you can't hear in the regular show. And we like to close out every episode with a song from a local artist. Becky, what have you got today?
Yeah, so I thought since I was shouting out Ryan Neal being on the new Bachelor spinoff, Listen to Your Heart, we'll play one of his original tunes. This is Music of My Mind. It's off his EP called Up My Sleeve that he released last year. This is a love song, funk grooves, kind of poignant pop feel to it. But incidentally, the first show that as the Debrief we hosted at Willis Show Bar was also with Ryan. So there's the tie-in there. So here's Music of My Mind.
Cool. We'll check it out. Until tomorrow, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind. When I was younger, I used to always dream of waking up Christmas morning and strolling through NYC. Snow in Central Park, a limo with my own chauffeur, feeling like a big shot, Kevin McAllister. And then I realized on Fifth Avenue, millions of people walk by, but none of them look like you. Helpless and alone, 2 things you never wanna hear. I need love like yours to keep me through until next year. I knew that you'd be true, even when I wasn't with you. So please ignore my selfish ways, and please just stay. So baby, don't slide away. Cause I keep feeling all this loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind. 20 years later, I'm feeling the gravity. Life moving twice as fast and getting the best of me. So can you try to make it slow down, 'cause this anxiety is all around. I wanna feel comfortable, I wanna sing in tune. You bring me sunshine when I'm howling at the moon. You could be the flame and maybe I can be your spark. That ignites the feeling deep inside each other's hearts. And I knew that you'd be true, even when I wasn't with you. So please ignore my selfish ways, and please just stay. So baby, don't slip, slide away. 'Cause I keep feeling all this loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind. I keep feeling all this loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind. I keep feeling all this loneliness without you. I wanna tell you that I'm more than just about you. Baby, you stay in perfect time. Baby, you keep the funk alive. You're the music, you're the music, you're the music of my mind.
The Debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.